Hey everybody, this is Evan at Chicago Music Exchange. I'm surrounded by 5 of some of the nicest boutique amplifiers in the industry right now. Dude, yeah, that's where it's at. Dude, that's a rock tone, baby, come on. That's what you want out of Tweed amp. Another stellar rock and roll tone right there. That's the fuzz. Yeah, dude, that's a nice fuzz coming out of an amp. Who'd have thunk you could get that? At the end of this, I'm going to pick which one of these amps is my personal favorite. If you agree or disagree, let me know down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Off the bat, I think I'm gonna end up liking the Bartel or the Benson the best. I personally have a Tone King Falcon Grande, so I'm kind of leaning towards the Bartel. They're made by Mark Bartel. I've also been on the internet. I've seen a lot of hype about Benson amps, heard them in a lot of really amazing different contexts. So I'm excited to put this one to the test and kind of see what it sounds like. We have a CME Chicago Special Fender Strat here, and I also have a CME Spec Koa Les Paul that we're going to be testing kind of side by side how they respond to single coils and humbuckers. Starting things off, we got the Benson Earhart Reverb. Benson amps are all handmade in Portland, Oregon. This particular amp features a treble and bass control, volume control, single reverb knob, and a wattage control. At its peak, the power goes up to 15 watts and it goes all the way down to half a watt. The wattage is all the way up at 15 watts. Volume is only at 2 out of 10 right now, but sounds really nice. It sounds like it has headroom. It feels good sitting right next to this. It's not blowing my ears out, which is really nice. And it has some really solid definition. It kind of sweetens up a little bit as you play softer, but then you start to dig in and it opens up sort of like almost a little more voxy, kind of like it gets super chimey the harder you play. If that makes sense? Yes, it's very sweet, very nice, very clean, pretty easy, pretty solid. Before we move on to the crunchier sounds this amp makes, I'm gonna see where this amp starts to break up. These are vintage style single coil pickups, so they're not the hottest, but yeah, let's see what happens. So right now I got the volume knob at 4. It's really starting to open up a little bit. The top end is coming through. It's a little bit more intense. Yeah, it's starting to really get that like tubey, glassy Strat thing going on. Okay, volume 6. Honestly, not that much different than volume 4, just louder. I can feel it in my chest. That's always a good thing. Yeah, still really warm, still nice. Clean-ish, no breakup quite yet. Let's take it up to 8 and see what happens. Yeah, dude, that's where, yeah, this amp really starts to come alive at 8. That's I feel like a real rock and roller. That's sick. That is so fun. Yeah, that's awesome. Like I don't like playing at loud volumes. It's generally kind of scary. You hear all the mistakes, but it cleans up really nice when you like play lighter. That's really cool. Yeah, that's where it's at. That's nice. Big fan of that. So I've decreased the wattage by about half, went from 15 watts to 7 watts. Still at volume 8. Treble and bass knobs both still at noon. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to take this all the way down to half a watt, and again, volume still at 8, treble bass still at noon, and see what it sounds like. Dude, that's sick. That's so fun. It's gritty. It's gritty, it's distorted, it's very fun to play. It feels cool to play through. You can just dig in and you're just pushing the amp as hard as you can. It feels good when you can push an amp to its limits and it still like performs, still feels like it has some left to give. I think it sounds more Vox distortion-y than like sort of warm, squishy, compressed deluxe reverb style, which is cool because higher up in the wattage, you get more of that like sort of squishy compression, American style warm distortion. But down here at half a watt, really feels like the top end is like just ripping through. Kind of giving me like Revolution by the Beatles vibes a little bit, just like cranked DI almost. I know that's like functionally very different, but half watt. Oh. Yeah, that's sick, dude. With humbuckers, it sounds really cool. Very like kind of fuzzy almost. Again, very, very fun to dig into. Feels dynamic when you're playing with it. Really responds very well. That's a very cool distortion sound. I really, really, really like that. So I'm going to take this up to 7 watts and see how this changes with the humbuckers. Dude, this is so fun, man. Oh, yeah. Okay, so 7 watts, volume 8. That was very loud sitting right next to this. I don't know how practical of a use case this position is right now, realistically, but oh my God, my ears. In terms of distortion, crunch tone, felt a little bit more like, I don't know, that swayed back towards the Deluxe Reverb American style, where it's a little squishier, felt a little bit warmer, not as like just high-end ripping through sort of overblown speaker thing. Let's take a quick look at the onboard spring reverb on the Benson. We're gonna take the reverb up to 5. That's quite a bit of reverb at 5. I wish there was some sort of like reverb mix knob on this. I've seen other amps that have this, so it would be nice to have on the Benson. Yeah, that's nice. Solid, standard, onboard spring reverb. Let's see what it sounds like maxed out. Really nice transition up into the crunch zone there. It sounds pretty sick. Really warm throughout, really good note definition, very sweet, not a bland, clean tone at all. I feel like with some amps, you start to play them with like no reverb, no effects, just totally dry straight in. And it just sounds kind of like weak and anemic, and this does not. It has a lot of character throughout and responds to your playing really nice. And yeah, it feels like you have a really good relationship playing back and forth with the amp. So dug in, nice, warm, overdrive, very loud, needless to say, very loud. Kind of different stuff happening at 0.5 watt versus 15 watt versus 7 watt. Obviously, maybe no surprise there. At low wattage, I really like that, like just gnarly speaker, rippy top end, like color box type overdrive stuff. Yeah, that was awesome, dude. All right, I'm gonna turn this off. Final test: portability, gigability, travelability rating. We're gonna unplug this. I'm not the strongest guy in the world, so let's see how this goes. Oh, actually, you know what? This is really nice. This is really light, shockingly light. Yeah, you can move it around for sure. I would not hesitate to bring that up 2 to 3 flights of stairs at a bar gig. I say that now, but leather handle's really nice, feels solid. It's small enough and compact enough to where you could probably just bear hug it if you really need to. Portability 1 to 5. Compared to a deluxe reverb, it's definitely better than a deluxe reverb lugging around. I'll give it a 4. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. Now we got the Carr Sportsman. This is a 19 watt combo amplifier. This is supposed to be sort of more along the line of the American style amps. These are known for really pure, clean, warm tones. And then you dial it up and it's supposed to be a harmonically rich overdrive. This has volume, bass, treble, mid controls, as well as a reverb and a headroom control, which functions very similarly to the wattage control on other amps. Start with a clean tone. I got the volume basically all the way down at 1. Treble, bass, and mid are all right at noon, and we are at max headroom. So let's see how it sounds. That was really good. This is gonna sound really redundant, but stick with me. It was a very nice and clean. What I mean by that is, again, kind of filled with character a little bit, not lame, not limp, not anemic, not bland. Felt good sitting in the room next to it. Definitely Fender-esque. Numbers are not marked on this amp, so I'm just gonna go up to like, what is it, like 10 o'clock. Starts to open up pretty fast, I think. Yeah, it started to open up a lot faster than the Benson did. Still so warm, very rich. Let's keep going up. I'm gonna take this to about 2 o'clock now in the volume. that's my kind of crunch there. Start to get a little bit of compression, start to get a little squishiness there. Again, very warm. The top end is not starting to like rip out and like give that like overblown speaker kind of thing. Feels very controlled. Again, makes you just want to dig into the guitar to like really bring out that full overdrive characteristic. Sitting next to the amp, it's not getting dramatically louder to my ears. I think that's also a very good thing. That's where clean ends. 2 o'clock, you're in dirt territory for sure. Let's see what it sounds like dimed? Dimed. Let's see what it sounds like dimed. Enough of that. That was good. That was really nice. Turn this down a little bit. Another stellar rock and roll tone right there, baby. Come on, Carr Sportsman. Yeah, like better, I don't know. I like it better Fender vibe. That's the easiest way I would describe it. Just better Fender character. Really nice. Makes you want to dig in, makes you want to play loud, makes you excited. So let's see how the headroom interacts with the volume on the Carr Sportsman. I've turned the headroom down to about half, and then we're at about 8, not 8 o'clock, but like 8 out of 10 on the volume here. So 3 o'clock for you time nerds out there. My left ear is going to be ringing after this. Okay, so when you decrease the headroom and you keep the volume right there, it is a pretty substantial change from max headroom at that level. Granted, we're decreasing it by about half, so that makes sense. Does not feel very squishy, but that's okay. That's not a bad thing. That compression's not really, like, I'm not feeling my notes pushing the absolute limit of the amp. Let's see how the Carr Sportsman interacts now with some humbucker pickups. So I got EQ settings still the same, reverb still the same. Headroom's at about half, and I'm gonna start the volume right at noon. Let's see what it sounds like. That's really, really good, really nice, richer Fender style, which is what I'm a huge fan of. very warm, good note definition, all the stuff that you want in a nice clean sound, but still filled with character. All right, so for the reverb on the Carr Sportsman, I really liked the way that it interacted with the dry signal. I never felt like it got too out of hand or too muddy. It was a pretty dramatic difference between reverb at half and full, which gives you pretty good versatility, portability on the Carr Sportsman. This is a 19 watt combo amp. Let's see, we got a very thick, very heavy leather handle on this, really nice. Also not bad. This is quite a bit smaller than the Benson. I could hug this.
Or about the same, right?
It weighs a little bit more, but not a lot. Would I lug this up? Ooh. You get a little spring clash there. Would I lug this up 2 to 3 flights of stairs for a bar gig? Yeah, easy, no problem. You could probably tuck this under your arm or bear hug it. I'll give that a 4 out of 5 portability. Pretty easy. Still pretty light. Yeah. Now I am plugged into the 5 watt Swart Space Tone Tremolo. I've never played through a Swart. It looks cool. It's got some tweed. It's got some black on the edges. This has onboard reverb and tremolo. So in place of traditional EQ knobs, this has a 3-way EQ switch. Position 1 being full, middle position is neutral, and then the bottom position is a low cut. This also has a high gain and a low gain input. So right now I'm in the high gain input and the volume is at noon, and the EQ toggle is at neutral. I think this does the twangy tweed thing fairly well. Is it better than a Fender Tweed? I don't know, that's subjective. It's nice, it's cool. Yeah, feels like you can dig in a little bit. It feels slightly touch responsive. Again, volume is at noon. EQ is just neutral. I'm gonna drop the volume down to like 9 o'clock and see how that interacts with the gain and the touch sensitivity and all that. Okay, well, it's very quiet. Obviously 5 watt amp, super quiet. Not the clean amp you're gonna be looking for if you want something to play on stage, but that's like a very nice, pleasant, you know, for me in my apartment here in Chicago, that would be a nice volume level, and I can get some cool little, get a nice little twang there. That is the one thing I think actually this amp is doing well for me right now. Playing the Strat, if you were to like play some country licks, I am not a bluegrass or country player, so I'm sorry, we should get Nathaniel. Yeah, Nathaniel. But if you're doing the twangy fingerpicky stuff, then I think that would excel pretty well with that. So I'm gonna put the volume now at 3 o'clock and see what the breakup on this sounds like. Again, I'm still in the high gain input, neutral tone switch, so. So volume at 3 o'clock, definitely obviously breaking up into crunch territory. Not too squishy for a small amp. I thought that was pretty nice. Now let's see how this interacts with some humbuckers. I'm hoping to get into that like really almost fuzzy tweed territory. So let's see how this sounds. I'm gonna put the volume right at noon. All right, yeah. I like the way that plays with the humbuckers. It feels like it's coming alive with the humbuckers as opposed to the single coils. I think the extra juice coming from these pushes this amp into a little bit more familiar territory when it comes to tweed overdrives. Let's dime this, see how it sounds. Oh boy. That's what you want out of a Tweed amp. That's what you want. High gain input, neutral EQ, humbuckers, dimed. That's yeah. I think compared to like a small Fender Tweed, what you run into with some of the, when you start cranking like small Fender Tweed amps, is you get a lot of compression, a lot of squishiness, a lot of like small amp boxiness sound. With that still felt pretty open. Still felt very touch responsive for being pushed all the way. I was a big fan on that. That was really nice. Cool rock and roller tone. Makes me want to play the pentatonic scale. What more could you ask for? Let's check out what the reverb and the onboard tremolo sounds like on this. So this is also just a one knob reverb control on this. It is a space knob. So I'm gonna go knob at noon, and then I will put the reverb all the way up. So let's see what it sounds like at noon. There it is. Yeah, all right. So, I mean, off the bat, like, the reverb at noon already starts to get into self-oscillating territory. This is the space tone tremolo, so that makes sense. Yeah, that's spacey for sure. Let's see what happens when we put the reverb all the way up. Gee whiz, I wonder what. All right, reverb's dimed. It's not, it's kind of not. All right, so yeah, not a crazy change between noon and all the way reverb. I feel like the main difference is just the amount of like splashy sort of spring reverb thing that comes in when it's dimed. But again, way out there in space. And
like on like 1 or 2.
It's wet. I got the reverb set at 9 o'clock, so let's see what that sounds like. Yeah, that's nice. Really, it feels like they almost combined a hall reverb and a spring reverb on this. It's like a blend of both types. Let's check out the onboard tremolo on the Swart.
Do you like trem?
I love tremolo. I'm a big fan. Harmonic tremolo is my favorite. I play with tremolo most of the time. So let's keep the speed all the way down, and I'm gonna set the depth to noon. I'm gonna turn the speed up a little bit at noon and see how that interacts with it. Solid, fairly interactive for a small 5-watt tube amp. Some pretty solid versatility there. I think if you're gonna get this amp, I liked it a lot better playing through humbuckers. I think driving this amp, it can handle stuff going into it a lot better than maybe some other Tweed amps I've played through. On I'm a huge fan of Tweed overdrive. I love when it gets into the fuzz territory, and I couldn't quite push this into that. Maybe with some pedals, a boost or something, I could get there. But yeah, very solid. I think you could probably do like a Neil Young thing pretty well with this too, which would be nice, especially considering it's just a small 5-watt amp. Yeah, onboard effects. We got reverb and tremolo. Solid, good, nice to have. Not a feature that you see very commonly on small tube combos. So definitely nice to have. All right, portability rating. This one better be a 5. It's a 5-watt combo. Also a nice leather handle. I mean, yeah, dude, like, come on.
Take that on your bike.
Yeah, I could put this on my bike. I could strap this to my back and walk around. 5.
Kind of an expensive bike amp.
Yeah. An expensive backpacker amp for sure, but yeah, very easy. Like, I think the big thing with this, what you get out of this is you could take this to a gig if you're playing at a coffee shop or small gig or whatever, and you don't really need pedals. You can adjust the onboard effects. You have a little bit of versatility with the high-low inputs and the EQ switch. So yeah, for portability and gigability, I think this gets a 5. Now we're plugged into the 28-watt Bartel Starwood amp. These are handmade in Baltimore, Maryland. The control set on the Starwood has a preamp, reverb, and master volume section. In the preamp section, you have volume control, treble, bass control. Reverb, you have mix and dwell, and then you have a master volume knob, which again, kind of functions the same thing as the attenuators or wattage on the other amps. Right now, I have all the knobs at noon, no reverb, so let's see how that sounds. All right, so with the master volume and the preamp volume at noon, EQ knobs at noon, that's really nice. Sounds like your pretty standard American Fender style. Clean tone, you got a little tiny bit of dirt. Breaks up just a tiny bit when you start hitting it, but it's got a really nice twang to it as well. Again, I could feel if I could physically do it, I would do some sweet chicken picking stuff, and it would probably sound pretty sick. Now I have the master volume all the way up, and I have the preamp volume at 9 o'clock, bass and treble still at noon. Nice. Gives you that tubey Strat thing that comes through. Volume in the room, not bad at all. Considering this is a 28-watt amp, headroom is max. Volume is pretty low at 9 o'clock, but yeah, pretty nice. Kind of just standard, clean, warm.
Guitar.
Sounds like a guitar. Sounds like it's made of wood. And I have hands made of flesh. Let's take the preamp to 3 o'clock and see what happens with the breakup. All right, yeah, nice. Nice, kind of squishy, warm overdrive, holds you like a hug, embraces you, says, feels at home. It says, don't worry, You're good at playing guitar. I'll make you sound good. You don't have to work that hard. Chimey when you hit the upper strings, warm, kind of bassy. I don't want to say woofy because that has a negative context, but like woofy in a good way on the low strings, if that makes sense. Let's see what it sounds like dying. That felt pretty cool. It felt like that like tubey glassy thing that comes from Strats really was pronounced in that. It wasn't like the overdrive was just overshadowing the characteristics of the guitar. It was a loud Tweed overdrive. It didn't feel too crazy. It didn't get into that like fuzz Tweed area. Makes you want to dig in and play some rock and roll, baby. Got the Les Paul plugged in here. We got the master volume at noon. We got the preamp volume dimed. So let's see what happens when we play some humbuckers through this.
Okay.
Dude, yeah.
That's the fuzz you were looking for.
That's the fuzz. Yeah, dude, that's a nice fuzz coming out of an amp. Who'd have thunk you could get that? That was sick. Kind of felt like Neil Young and Rust a little bit. Kind of felt like Neil Young with Crazy Horse. I forget if it's exactly Rust. Please don't come at me in the comments. Weld. I feel like Neil Young and Weld a little bit. Humbuckers drive this so nice. Oh my God. Let's see how the reverb sounds on this. I'm gonna put the dwell knob right at noon and then kind of work through the mix, see how that interacts with the dwell. All right, nice, solid, middle of the road. I mean, the mix should barely be in there. It was actually a little bit, I got a little bit more reverb than I was maybe expecting for that range on the knob, but again, I didn't feel like it was getting in front of the playing at all. Let's turn the mix up to half, see what happens. Yeah, that was very pretty. Felt nice. Let's crank it all the way up. There it is. Clean rating. Again, solid, middle of the road, good. Slightly interesting, slightly cool, but if I was gonna just, plug this in, go straight in and play in front of a crowd of people that I don't know, I'd want to color it a little bit with something. But again, very solid, just good. It's just good. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just nice.
Is this a 5?
That's a 5. The undoubtedly overdrive rating 1 out of 5. That's a 5. That's my favorite overdrive I've heard thus far. Straight out of an amp, probably. Maybe ever.
It's maybe second.
Second is my Tone King Falcon Grande because I spent a good bit of money on that, and I have to say that it's the second. But that, whew.
Shout out Mark Bartel.
Shout out Mark Bartel for that overdrive. Gee whiz, such a good overdrive, big fan. Reverb rating, again, solid, middle of the road, usable, pretty good range there. I wasn't blown away necessarily, but again, I would use that. I wouldn't feel the need to have a reverb pedal if I could just adjust my settings. Mix knob is really, really great to have as opposed to just single reverb knob control. I feel like you could really, really dial in a specific reverb sound that you want. That mix knob goes a long way. Okay, so this is obviously the largest amp that we've done so far. Another nice solid leather handle. Portability 1 out of 5. 3.
Yeah.
It's a 3.
It's about as heavy as you think.
It's a tube amp, it's a combo, it's a 28 watt amp. It's about as heavy as you would expect. I wouldn't love lugging that up 2 to 3 flights of steps for a bar gig, but it's not the worst. Last but certainly not least in the list, we have the 40 watt Matchless Chieftain. This is a 2x12 combo amp. I've never personally played out of a Matchless, so this will be cool to see. I feel like Matchless are known for their ability to be really, really loud without losing their fidelity. They can also take pedals very, very well. I will say, I will not be diming this amp because I'm sitting a foot away from it and I like to listen to things in my free time, so I'd like the ability to continue hearing after shooting this video. Not gonna be diming this, but it does have a pretty cool control set. We have a preamp volume, bass, mid, treble knobs. We have a brilliance knob on this, which we have not seen on the other amps. We have a single master volume knob and a single reverb knob. We also have high and low inputs, and as you can see, we got some cool lights behind the Matchless logo and behind the control set there. So when you're on stage fiddling with your settings, you can see what you're doing. First up, we're gonna do all knobs at noon. We're gonna keep the master volume knob at 9 o'clock. All right, so with the preamp volume at noon, master at 9 o'clock, we're already getting a little bit of breakup. Again, that really like tubey round characteristics of a Strat, I think really comes through on this. Super dry with no reverb. I think it doesn't feel like the amp is coloring the sound so much as just driving it, like the Strat's really coming through on this. Let's take the volume to about 9 o'clock and see if we can clean it up a little bit. All right, so once we cleaned it up, I think everything I said previously with the volume at noon remains true as you continue to clean it up. Again, the guitar itself is really, really coming through on this. Matchless, known for taking pedals very well, known for being able to be colored very well. So compared to some of the other amps, this just feels very dry, very clean, lets the guitar do the talking. Again, all of these knobs just at noon, just kind of getting straight up guitar tone. See what it sounds like with some distortion. All right, we're keeping the master volume at 9 o'clock. I've got the preamp volume at 3 o'clock, and again, EQ all at noon, no reverb. As we start to overdrive the amp a little bit more, it feels very similar to a deluxe reverb, but more. Let's see how it sounds with the Les Paul with humbuckers. Again, I still have the master volume at 9. I got the volume at 3, EQ at noon, no reverb. All right, so really interesting overdrive compared to these other amps with the humbuckers. I felt like I was playing through a Velcro-y fuzz a little bit with that. Throw on the neck, you want that warm, woofy, fuzzy overdrive sound. You got that out of this. All right, so we've dialed back the preamp volume back to noon. Master's still at 9 because I like my hearing. See how that sounds. All right, so yeah, dialing back the preamp volume, still you're getting that kind of like woofy, like fuzzy, a little muddy overdrive. Not necessarily muddy in a bad way, but humbuckers again to single coils just is obviously going to drive the amp a lot more. You're getting a lot more harmonic content. Yeah. Let me know what you think about this particular style of overdrive. Again, this is the first time I've played a Matchless, so there's probably a lot of things that I could do to dial in. There's certain play styles that these amps appeal to. All right, so I've cleaned it up a little bit. I've put the preamp volume back to 9 o'clock. Have not touched the master. Gonna check out the reverb now. We're gonna put that at 9 o'clock as well. Let's see how that sounds. All right, with reverb at 9 o'clock, it is barely perceptible at all. I guess it adds a nice tiny bit of air, but let's put it up to noon and see how that sounds. All right, so even with the reverb at noon, really not getting in your way at all.
Chillest of the ones you've tested there.
Yeah, it's the chillest of all these reverbs that we've run through. Let's max this out and see what happens. Even with the reverb maxed, that would be like a quarter of the reverb on the Swart, or like, you know, like a little less than halfway on the Benson maybe. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, solid. Does its job, kind of just makes it sound bigger and airier. You got the nice little splash on the percussion. But certainly doesn't run away from you, certainly does not get in the way of the dry signal. Clean rating, it's just neutral, and that's the point. That's what it's supposed to be. If anything, with all these knobs at noon, granted you have a lot of control within those, but the EQ just all set at noon feels kind of bright, especially compared to some of these other options. This is hard not to inject personal preference. I personally wouldn't reach for a Matchless. I've never played Matchlesses. I know they're very good at what they do. I know a lot of people love them a lot. They're very well beloved in their scene. But just trying to be objective and comparing them to some of these other amps, I think it's really good at what it does. It does a very specific thing. All right, this is a 40 watt 2x12 tube amplifier. Unplug this. I can already say I'm not lugging this up 2 to 3 flights of stairs for a bar gig. Nice leather handle. It's 80,000 pounds. I think this comes at, this comes at what, like 81 pounds or something? Zero, bro. I won. It's not fair, but it's not a portable amplifier.
Where you can wheel it and
yeah. Put this on casters. Don't bring this to your 3rd floor bar gig. Get another amp. Sacrifice. Get a smaller amp. You're gonna deafen the people in the bar with 40 watt 2x12 anyways. So portability 1 to 5. I'm sorry, but that is by far the worst. No surprise out of any of the amps that we've looked at here. I will say one thing that would be nice on this, that would make it more portable, side handles.
You need 2 hands anyway.
Yeah, you're gonna be using 2 hands to carry this thing. Get a stronger friend than me to handle this for you. And there you have it. 5 of the finest boutique amps that we have in stock right now at the Chicago Music Exchange. I will say, I went into this assuming that I would like the Benson or the Bartel the best. After playing through these, I think I've changed my answer a little bit. I'm still gonna pick 2. I think for a clean tone amp, I'm actually gonna go with the Carr Sportsman. I was a huge fan of that. I really liked the coloration that it gave to the clean sound of the guitar. I thought the overdrive was solid, but that was my favorite reverb. Just mellow, solid, middle of the road reverb. Really nice clean tone. Pretty compact, easy to carry package. Yeah, I really liked the Carr Sportsman. I'm a fan of American style clean tones, so that's where my answer is coming from. I thought it interacted great both with single coils and humbuckers. Just all around was the easiest to dial in off the rip. Sounded the best without having to make any major adjustments. As for overdrive, far and away, I'm going the Bartel. I love that, dude. I need that in my life. That was unlike any overdrive I've ever heard out of an amp. So cool, fuzzy, just nice, interacted so well with humbuckers, made the Strat sound amazing and huge as well. So I'm sticking with the Bartel for overdrive. I'm going with the Carr Sportsman for clean tone. Obviously, this is only a small fraction of all the boutique amps that we have in the store. So head to the website for the full list. Stop in the shop if you are in the Chicagoland area. There was a lot of different considerations for what to be included in this video. Shout out to Dr. Z, shout out to Magnatone, shout out to 2Rock. We got a ton of good stuff in the store right now. So give us a call, head to the website, check all of our inventory out, and let me know in the comments if you would have rather seen some other amps or if we should do another video like this comparing a few different boutique options.